Well, we have known for quite a while that Emma Corrin had joined Deadpool 3 as one of the villains. It just hasn't been revealed. And earlier today, several scoopers on various forms of social media started chiming in, and it appears we have a never-before-seen X-Men villain finally coming to life in live action. Let's break it down. Well, there appears to be a new rumor making the rounds tonight via several of the usual suspects over on various forms of social media. Now, this one surrounds Deadpool 3 and Emma Corrin. Now, if you follow this channel, when we made the report on her joining the cast of Deadpool 3, we knew she was going to be a villain. But Marvel Studios has managed to keep it under wraps, and earlier today we started getting some pretty interesting reports on exactly who she is and how this could fit into the larger X-Men timeline, as well as feeding some of those rumors about some of the previous X-Men cast members once again making a return. Now, like we always like to say, it's not from Kevin Feige or Marvel Studios, so we want to take it with a grain of salt. As always, they are the only official source of information when it comes to any Marvel projects. Now, this comes via Can We Get Some Toast? And as many of you know, we've been pretty skeptical of a lot of these scoopers lately, but the elements of this story do line up nicely, so we want to give it a pretty firm look. Now, what he is saying is that Primetime Emmy-nominated actress Emma Corrin will be playing Cassandra Nova. Now, if you don't know who Cassandra Nova is, that is perfectly okay, but she has some pretty deep roots in X-Men lore. She is actually the evil twin sister of Charles Xavier. Now, the character made her first appearance way back in July of 2001 in New X-Men number 114 and was created by the legendary Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. Now, in the comics, she's what's known as a Mumdrai, which is a parasitic life form born bodiless in the astral plane of existence. Now, she wasn't conceived with a body, but she was actually able to copy Charles Xavier's DNA to form her own body, and then she attempted to kill him in the womb with his own umbilical cord. Now, luckily for all of us, Charles Xavier is so psychically strong that even at that stage of life, he was able to strike back, hitting her with a psychic blast that actually caused her to be born stillborn. Now, in the comics, she survived the loss and over time was able to grow herself a new body and turned her attention on Charles Xavier and the X-Men. And so she should make quite an interesting villain, and you can sort of see how previous X-Men characters could be tied directly to her, specifically Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier. Now, in that same report, they do give an interesting update, though, because they stress over and over again that Cassandra Nova isn't the main villain of the film, but is actually, quote, one of the main villains. Now, this is something pretty interesting to stress because Cassandra Nova is a pretty high-powered character, so for her not to be the main villain, whatever other forces are at bay here have to be pretty big, especially if this other villain waylays any of her expectations because she's not one to not get her way. Now, if this rumor pans out to be true, then more than likely it's not a huge stretch to suggest that Patrick Stewart's Professor X, as well as some of the other former X-Men actors we've been hearing rumors about returning, turns out to be true also. You kind of need all these X-Men characters to make Cassandra Nova kind of stick the landing there, so I am curious on the larger story they are telling. This film has a huge confirmed cast, and there's about a dozen other actors from previous Marvel franchises over at Fox that are reported to appear, as well as several members of the TVA from the MCU, so even if Cassandra Nova is the villain of this film, or even one of the main villains of the film, she's likely to be sharing the screen with a lot of other characters, so it should be pretty curious how she fits in. Deadpool is still set to hit theaters on May the 3rd, 2024, but quite honestly, at this point, I'm pretty sure the strikes are going to delay that release. Both the WGA and the SAG strikes are not moving forward at all. As a matter of fact, recent negotiations have gone very poorly, so I think we're going to be stuck with this as a status quo for quite a while, but we're going to have to wait and see.